Welcome to the Elk Season Podcast. It is episode 12. Today is after St. Patrick's Day. It's the 20th?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Let's go with the 20th.
It might be. I don't know.
I will consult the Oracle. It says
Please.
Sunday, March 20th.
Yay, it's March 20th. And that means there's only 6 more months until winter.
Wow. That's...
Put that in your pipe and smoke it, huh? How many days till elk season? I don't know. It's probably like 100. No,
Yeah.
it's more than that.
I don't know. Well, it's a few days, and but every day feels like elk season because we're constantly thinking about it, constantly talking about it.
Yes.
There's some cool stuff we're going to talk about today to help us prepare for it.
Yeah.
Some what would you say they are? I can't think of how to say this. They're anyway. You'll see.
Okay.
Just little adjustments.
Okay.
For our gear that I'm interested in.
Oh,
having
yeah.
about. So
yeah. We saw some stuff on Destination Elk. So we're going to be talking about conservation. We got some conservation stories to go through. I got a couple of quick announcements. We're going to be talking about stories from the trail. I want to get nostalgic today.
Okay.
I want to talk about some stuff I saw. It had to have been back in the early 80s. Some really
All
good
right. Yeah, that's
rifle season in the 80s in Montana.
okay.
Anyway, I got a really fun story, and I said Destination Elk,
Yep, Destination Elk.
and also another tale from the trail if we have time about animal language.
Okay.
So if we have time,
All right.
and we can also talk about biodiesel. I know there's tons of stuff we didn't make a full list.
Well, just basing it off our last week's list,
Yeah.
it gives us a good start. So, I mean, you hit everything that we have, and just we'll
fuel prices are a big deal right now. That means a lot. That means a lot for your hunting season.
it does.
I know some guys drive 12, 15, 20 hours to come out west to hunt.
Yeah.
How much money is that per hour?
Right. Hopefully those prices come down by then, but
Yeah.
right now it's kind of like you're making future plans based on today's gas, and that
it's a real consideration in your fall elk hunting plans.
One way that I've tried to help manage it is I sent my wife a text when the gas prices they're going to continue going up for a bit, and I said,
Yeah.
Be ready for $10 a gallon gas prices. So if I overshoot it, anything under $10 will feel like a bargain.
It's a win, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's how I'm managing my stress with that.
That's how my wife frames everything in conversation. What? But it was on sale. Oh, that makes me feel so much better.
Yeah.
It still costed the same as what you just told me it costed it, right?
Yeah.
Even though it was on sale? Yeah, it was on sale. Anyway. So the announcements, real quick. The announcements are I'm still thinking about I'm definitely going to do a scouting report. I'm gonna do a scouting report for somewhere in Idaho, somewhere in the Pioneer District, and I want to give that scouting report to a hunter from out of state. And there was another story about out-of-state dollars. I wonder if I hit it this week, if I got that story to you. I don't think I did.
I don't think you did. I vetted them pretty carefully when I got on here this morning, so I just didn't see that one.
Okay. It's somewhere out there. Maybe it was one of my TikToks. So that's an announcement. I want to do a scouting report. I'll get the scouting report up on YouTube. I'll let you know when it's ready. So I'm going to go out and set the cameras, and that in itself is going to be a YouTube. And I'm looking for somebody who's going to come out west and wants to produce a YouTube video of their hunt as a result of the scouting report that I give them. So that's something I'm going to do. Also, I want to take a rookie. I want to take a rookie hunting. Mm-hmm. Every year we take a veteran hunting.
Yeah.
Every year.
Well, I guess because sometimes he shows up, sometimes he doesn't.
Listen, it's not just a veteran. Okay.
Well, right.
This guy is 100% disabled Marine Corps combat veteran.
Yeah.
It's another level.
Absolutely different
level. It's another level, and we take him every year, and we love him.
Yeah.
And we love being with him.
And I hate it when he can't make it, or if I miss him.
I know, because it's so much fun. He's so much fun to hunt with. And so I'm really looking forward to that. So we go hunting with a veteran. I'm going to go hunting with a rookie. I'm going to go hunting with a 5-year-old, which is also a rookie.
Technically.
So, technically. I mean, this year. Next year, he won't be a rookie anymore. But I want to get a call in his mouth. I want to get one in his hands. At least something he can squeeze and make some noises and hopefully have an encounter with some elk. And those are the announcements. That's what's coming up this year on the Elk Season.
Things we're looking forward to, so to speak.
As I plan my elk season. Also, elk season goes on for 2 extra weeks in Montana after it's done here in Idaho.
What gives, Idaho? What gives?
Yeah, I remember that about Montana. I'm thinking you got
did too.
6 weeks of bow season and 6 weeks of rifle. It's heavy. So I'm probably gonna go up with the veteran again.
Yeah, he's from Montana.
He's from Montana, so once he comes down here and hunts with me, we can go back up to Montana. I can hunt with him. So I get to hunt in Montana in October.
Cool.
So I'm planning that. Let this be a message to my wife. I am planning that.
Because she watches this every week. Anyway.
Well, if I cut out little snippets for TikTok, she'll eventually see him on TikTok and be like, oh, yeah. I guess he can count that as he told me.
Right on.
So, conservation news. There's a lot of cool stuff in conservation news every single week. And I think this week we're leading off with some wolf stuff.
Yeah.
Love wolves.
Our first tale from the interwebs is something about burros.
Yeah.
And training them to hang out with a herd of cattle. And I did not know this about burros being aggressive towards predators. And so apparently having these embedded in a herd could potentially help ward off wolves.
Yeah.
That's
when you bring them down into the low country for the winter season, you get some burros. And they sort of bond with each other.
Yeah.
They become friends. Then when you get them out to summer pasture, they're like, "Oh, you ain't messing with my friends."
Yeah.
And they'll chase up the wolves. It's not wolf it for the wolves. It's not it's not worth it for the wolves. I didn't even have a Guinness this morning.
No.
I'm ashamed of myself. You can't day drink if you don't have one for breakfast.
Good point.
So, anyway, so yeah, the burros. There's a lot of experimental stuff going on. Maybe it's not really that experimental. It's just
I've heard of these kind of tactics before, but I just never knew that about burros.
I
think it was llamas.
Yeah.
And being embedded with sheep.
Yeah,
thing.
That's what I heard. And then there's some sort of big dog that they also think
a sheepdog. I'm just kidding. I don't
know.
No, what was it?
I don't know.
I don't know. Like, yeah, I think I've heard. I think we're on the same page with what we thought we heard.
Remember, but anyways, it's there's a lot of alternatives, and so keep coming back to the Elk Season Podcast. We will talk to you when we see any results about what these alternatives.
Yeah,
because wolves are in Colorado now. It is they haven't been there in about 100 years.
But they're there,
and they are there now, and there's going to be conflicts.
It won't take long for their populations. I don't want to say boom, but to become established.
Yeah,
the way that dog.
If you're a dog, and you run your boundaries, you've seen the data on wolves and how they run their boundaries.
I don't recall.
So there's like their home territory. Right, the wolves don't wander out of their home territory. They do not. But because that's why that urine is all scented. Right. If you get to a boundary or what you think might be a boundary, you don't smell any other wolves. You're like, this is my boundary. So they will expand and they will grow. The future of wolves in Colorado will be plentiful for sure.
Be interesting to watch those headlines as they trickle out.
And as the stories come in, we'll be talking about them here on the Elk Season Podcast.
Yeah. We're going to go out to Oregon now. 6,100 wildlife vehicle incidents in 2019. 6,100 wildlife vehicle incidents in 2019.
Reported. How many vehicle incidences have you had with animals that you haven't reported?
Right. So being dangerous, being deadly, we talked about this. I can't remember how many I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but having the wildlife bridges.
Yeah.
And the first one I saw was on my way to Wells, Nevada.
Yeah,
and
between
it's
here
just,
and Wells.
It's just really cool to see those. And so they're going to increase the number of crossings.
Yeah, what they do is they don't just put up a crossing, but they put up like a 9-foot fence.
Yeah. I mean,
That's really, really impassable for a lot of critters to
Right.
get over or through that fence. And so as they wiggle along that fence and work their way along it, the only opening they come to is the one that goes over the highway.
Yep.
Or under it. Sometimes they've rigged something to go under the highway.
Yeah.
But it makes and they learn.
If it's over the highway, my problem is I'll have a wildlife related accident because I'll crash trying to view any wildlife that might be on that bridge.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because they've got some good trail cam footage from some of these crossings, and the biodiversity of what's on those trail cams is astonishing.
Yeah.
Just all kinds of great stuff. In fact, there was one. Gosh, there was like a badger and a fox that were playing together. that
Yeah,
were seen
I remember that.
playing together in a culvert.
Yeah.
Just like, we're just waiting for my buddy. Just waiting for their fox to get here. And he sits there and waits, and the fox gets there, and you're like, okay. And they run off together. So, how's that song go? Robin Hood and Little John walking through the forest. You don't know?
Oh,
that
yeah.
one? Oodalally, goodalally.
Yeah. I know the melody.
Okay. I would. That's as close as I'll ever get to singing, and you're welcome.
Out east, one of the biggest bulls to ever hit dirt.
455.
455.
Yeah.
For Pennsylvania state record bull. This thing's massive.
Pennsylvania.
I swear that this was in that video I shared.
I thought that one was like a Colorado bull, or
I don't know where that video was taken, but this antler, I don't know.
yeah,
It's a big bull.
455. So does size matter?
To
Yeah,
me,
if it's 455.
I don't know what the 455 means,
I have explained it to you.
but because I don't put a lot of weight on
Right.
size, it's not something that really sinks in for me. It's
Right.
not because I'm just not driven by that kind of stuff.
Right.
So
right.
to me, it's more impressive. Just look at it. The numbers are unimportant to me.
Yeah, 0 to 60 times don't matter to me.
Yeah.
Until I get my Tesla. And then that's all I'll talk about for weeks. You can count on it.
0 to 60.
All right. 0 to 60. You get a bowl, you get one in the freezer.
So this next bit of news, we're gonna speak about it, and then I'm gonna piggyback off of something that I don't have in our folder, but I mentioned to you before. So this is it has to do with Idaho Fish and Game, so we'll just throw it in on top of this one. So the story here is from the Magic Valley, where we're at. But over the last couple of weeks, moose has been hanging out in Bellevue.
Yeah.
And it's been relocated already. And so they somehow it does not have an aversion to human processes and likes to find its way into people's living spaces.
And it's been acting aggressive.
Yes, being a little more aggressive than we would like. But if you would like to meet this moose, just head out to Fish Creek. It's being relocated there again.
Yes.
And
we've been up there, haven't we?
yeah.
Good old Fish Creek out north of Cary.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some good elk country out there. I'm not saying, but there's some good elk country out there.
Yeah.
And apparently moose. But that's on the other side of the mountains. That's a long way from Bellevue. Bellevue is in the Wood River Valley, along with Sun Valley, Ketchum, and Haley.
Yeah. So it's traversed quite a distance.
That's a ways. And so, yeah, I think Fish Creek is closer to Copper Basin.
Yeah.
Which is just, it's just a long ways. Yeah.
So what I will piggyback onto that, though, is Idaho Fish and Game reported that the survival rate of fawns, deer fawns, and elk calves is higher this year.
Yeah, really?
Per capita.
Why?
So, I don't know.
Is it just the weather? I know we ran into a weather story earlier in the Elk Season podcast where it was like, yeah, bad weather can mean 40% fawns and calves die. So the weather's been, I don't know.
I'm going to actually pull up their press releases. I forgot I have the app, the Idaho Fish and Game app, where you can carry your license with you digitally. It's pretty cool.
You still need to have a tag for your animal.
Yes.
But yeah. Well, I don't know.
They have a lot of releases here. Dang. Winter survival for mule deer fawns and elk calves tracking slightly above average.
Slightly above average. Okay.
So it's so you had a specific question though. You're saying what 84% of fawns and 92% of calves with tracking collars have survived through February.
Oh. And so last year's calves and fawns survived their first winter.
Yes.
It's not about what was born or being born right now.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a good point of clarification.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
So that's good news if you're a hunter. More animals, more opportunities possibly down the road.
Yeah. Okay. Good catch.
Yeah.
All right. What else we got?
Boone and Crockett Club. Tell me about it.
What is this one about?
Something about a ranch in Montana. The Roosevelt Memorial Ranch.
Yeah.
The Theodore Roosevelt Memorial Ranch, a place called the Campsite, a special place where grizzly bears chase moose, mature mule deer bucks plow through snowdrifts, bull elk literally run into trees. I don't know why that makes me laugh. Mountain lions slink around at night. So apparently there's just a lot of great wildlife diversity happening on this ranch.
It's called what?
Theodore Roosevelt Memorial Ranch.
Yeah, but it has a name. The camp?
Yeah.
Or is it just called the camp?
The Campsite.
The Campsite. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. I don't know. I just like the story. It's Teddy Roosevelt. We talked about him. The part he played as president to preserve so many millions of public acres for future generations like me and you to enjoy. Thank you, Teddy Roosevelt. It's nice to see that there's some things in his honor, in his name. And he was part of the founding members of the Boone and Crockett Club. So
cool. And the muley in the image is pretty nice looking mule.
Yeah.
Mule deer.
There's some big muleys out west.
Utah biologist.
Yeah. This is a cool story.
Biologist. I was trying to say wildlife biologist, but biologist. Biologists catch a wolverine.
Yeah.
43 years.
Yeah.
After releasing it? It's cut off.
No. Since the last known sighting of a wolverine in Utah.
Oh.
43 years since the last known sighting of a wolverine.
Okay.
So I hiked up to this ties in with the Wolverine story because I think more people report seeing Bigfoot than report seeing wolverines.
That's possible. I wouldn't doubt that.
And that's a genuine statement. As ridiculous as it is, I believe that because so few wolverines are seen. I hiked up to part of my rookie guy. I went backpacking with him, and his name's Houston. Hopefully we'll get him on board for an elk hunt this fall. But we hiked up to the highest altitude lake in Idaho called Goat Lake. Now there's 2 Goat Lakes in Idaho. One is in the Pioneer Mountains. That's where I went, and one is in the Sawtooth Mountains. That's what everybody thinks I'm talking about.
2 different places,
but they're 2 wildly different places. And I wanted to take my drones up there and fly around. I got some really cool stuff. Some of it's even on my TikTok now. And even with Houston, if you see there's a TikTok of a drone, Houston's up there on Bapti Lake skipping rocks because we camped at Bapti Lake because there's no cover
up at the
up at Goat Lake.
Yeah.
But so I went backpacking with him. But the first time we went up there, I've been up there twice. The first time we went up there, there was some girls that were camped out on top of this mountain next to this high altitude lake. And when we hiked up to the lake, they're like freaking out and waving at us. And so we go over and talk to them. Okay. And they show us a video on their phone of a wolverine.
Wow.
A real wolverine. And you're like, okay, is this going to be like Bigfoot quality video.
Right.
But they showed me on their phone. I'm like, holy crap, that's a Wolverine. And they're on top of this big waterfall screaming down to the people at Bapti Lake because Wolverines move fast. I mean, and tenacious.
Yeah.
I mean, tenacious is their behavior, but tenacious is also their cadence.
Okay.
They move with such intent because it circled that entire, all of Goat Lake. And as it circles the lake, it goes down to Bapti Lake.
Okay.
Which is a hike of many hours for a man. It's a long, brutal hike. And this thing, you can see it all in like 2 minutes of video.
Wow.
It is, and it doesn't look like it's running. It is scrambling, but it's not full gallop running.
Sure,
it is just tenaciously moving.
Wow.
And that's sort of their behavior, and they've been known to kill bears over food sources.
Oof.
That kind of tenacity.
Jeez.
But they're also problem solvers. Right? They're that kind of tenacious too. They're like, ooh, there's something up there. I think I can get it. Because there's guys, I watched a series called Alone.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
No.
The guy actually kills a Wolverine with a hatchet.
Wow.
And then kills a moose with a bow, wants to protect the super fatty sources from the Wolverines, puts it up in a tree, puts deterrents up in the tree, and eventually the Wolverine still gets out and eats all the brains, gets the good fatty tissue and it just eats all the fat off of this moose this guy had.
Wow.
So yeah, they're just absolutely tenacious. And to see that now this was the Uinta range, and there's something people say the Uinta. Oh, you know about the Uinta range. Here's all that's interesting about the Uinta range. Okay. It runs east to west. Most mountain ranges, most mountain ranges out west run north to south. Their general direction is north to south. In Utah, northern Utah, just below the Wyoming line, or actually the Uintas kind of go into Wyoming a little bit, but it runs east and west.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I don't know why that's a particular note, but it is.
It's a note.
It's interesting geology. And the Green River, one of the largest tributaries of the Colorado, runs through from north-south through the Uintas. It's sort of on the eastern slopes of the Uintas, but or the eastern edge, I guess. And anyways, the Uintas. So there are plenty of big mountains there. It's a really big mountain range, but to find out that there's Wolverines there is fantastic. It's fantastic. So they're really good scavengers. I mean, like really good scavengers, because they can travel so far and they're super solitary.
Yeah.
And but so it makes me wonder what role wolves have had to play in killing large herbivores and having Wolverines come in. Because we know that they've been very helpful. Wolves have been helpful in the recovery of grizzly bear.
Yeah,
grizzly bear comes along, finds an elk carcass. They're like, "Hey, party on, man!" They're just scavengers.
Yeah,
right. You watch them. You watch grizzly hunters in Alaska. They'll comb the beaches. They'll just find some old beached whale and go, "Oh yeah, we'll wait here. You can take your pick of grizzly bears."
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge energy source.
Yeah,
a whale. There would be 3 or 4 grizzlies feeding on that. So when you have a good scavenge source like that, when you have wolves as these keystone species come in and bring down a lot of big game and leave a lot of carcasses out there, there's a lot of benefits elsewhere in the ecosystem. And by seeing more reports, and even this last fall during hunting season, I saw on TikTok somebody got video of a Wolverine.
Wow.
They're standing by a lake, and they're just always moving. But the guy heard something, and so he just took out his phone, and the Wolverine wanders almost right up to him, right past him, and then is gone. And I know they sound scary. They sound scary, don't they?
Nah. I mean, I'd feel more scared if I saw more of them.
Yeah.
Well, no, hold on. What was I trying to say?
I was attacked by a flock of Wolverines. It's a true story.
Yeah,
Film at 11.
There's a lack of that kind of story that comes with them. So Wolverines are
You're
cool
right.
and interesting. They might
Yeah.
have an attitude, but they appear to be aversive to humans.
Like many dogs, you try to take their food away, they might not be your best friend.
Yeah, right.
So they have killed bears, but over a food source.
Yeah.
Not because they're bored or hungry.
Yeah.
They're like, hey bear, that was my meal. And we'll see who has the end of this one.
Yeah.
So they're ferocious like that, but if I had to describe Wolverines in a sentence or in a word, it would just be tenacious. From what I've seen, and there's very little of it that I've seen. But they just the way that one moved around Bapti Lake or moved around Goat Lake, and what I saw in this series alone with just how tenacious they are, just always searching.
That's pretty cool.
So I thought it was really interesting. So interesting to see that Wolverine is back in Utah, and now they got a collar on it. We'll be seeing some more data from that.
I suspected a Wolverine hole in our hunting location when we hiked
Yeah.
up to a saddle. We saw that big spot, but
They really like high altitude, really high altitude stuff.
a big high altitude hole, bigger. You could almost fit in there. I mean, I wouldn't, but it was.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah. Going out to another country for a moment. This makes me think of conversations we've had about MIT dogs. This is, a robot. So a robotics trade show in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Shows a four-legged robot goat.
Right.
A rideable electric goat.
Okay.
I want one.
So you've seen Boston Dynamics.
Yeah. That's what I meant. Boston Dynamics.
Yeah. So you've seen that kind of stuff. You've seen what's his name, Spot or whatever.
Yeah.
They give him a name.
Yeah.
How about instead of pack goats, why can't I have a robot?
Yeah.
When will there be a robot available to just follow me through? You've seen him go through incredibly diverse terrain, even on 2 legs.
Yeah.
Can you imagine on 4?
Yeah.
Now you don't have to feed it.
Right.
You could just put out a solar panel to feed it, I guess.
Yeah.
And you don't have to guard it.
Yeah.
So goats, you need goats or llamas.
And
they could be preyed upon by a variety of animals.
Yeah.
Okay, there's bears, lions, wolves, and coyotes and cats.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff you have to protect your pack animals from when you go into the backcountry. And could a couple of robots, and right now they're 80 grand a piece.
Yeah, they're kind of pricey.
A little bit out of my price range for now. But
I'm saving some pennies. I've got a little penny jar.
when
It says little spot robot dog whatever.
I have watched some gear dump videos. I don't want to say who because they're so bad. It's just embarrassing. Just like,
Well,
you're going over what's in your pack. It's just boring. Just here's a knife, here's a saw, here's some water, here's a boiled food pouch.
I think it's mostly because people like to see what other people have, and so though it might be boring, it's kind of like you might see something that sparks a need you have as a hunter.
Yeah.
And so you don't always have to get that through a gear dump. And there's a couple of examples a little bit later that we'll talk about. But
Is there?
well,
That wasn't a gear dump video.
No, I know it's not. I'm just
okay.
saying that you can see people out in the field using the gear they have, and that gives you ideas. But then a gear dump just says what else might be useful. This is what I do. This is what I have. Yada yada. So anyway, but you're right. It's not for everyone.
And there's because the first thing I think about a gear dump, I'm like, yeah. First thing is this is my hammock. This is what I take naps in. And I know we've talked about it before. You're not a fan of the nap. And that's okay. I think you'll come around. I think you'll come around. What the guy from that Wild Country, Mark Kenyon, he said there's something about taking a nap at home where you feel guilty. There are so many pressing things to do at home that a nap, it's not the right thing.
Sure.
It's not the right thing to do. But there are so many times in the wilderness where taking a nap, there's nothing pressing happening. You're just waiting. You're waiting for the elk to move. You know where they are. You've got yourself. You can take a nap. It's okay. And I do. And I love naps. I relish a good nap. And if you don't, that's okay.
Yeah. Places we differ.
Do I snore? Do I snore on my naps? You hear me snoring?
Yes. But I think we just have to determine if it's going to be a nap time. We just have to have a game plan where, we split up for a little while, because I'll go find a spot and I'll probably take a nap, truth be told. No,
sure.
No,
and we've taken naps many times.
Yeah. It depends on my frame of mind and where I'm at, and if we're seeing many animals versus not seeing many animals. And so it's just, but I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. You know what? We hunt and hike until noon or so. We get up high. We find some place. You know what? It's time for a good meal. A good meal, not freeze-dried bags of crap. It's time for good food and, hey, maybe a little nappy time.
Yeah.
Maybe a half a pound of M&Ms.
So, since we're out in the field, let's go to these interesting harvest statistics provided by North Dakota Game and Fish Department.
Yeah.
Why we have to have different names for all departments, I don't know.
I know.
If I had a choice, everybody would be called
Fish and Game.
Fish, Wildlife, and Parks.
Fish, Wildlife, but DNR.
But 65% of hunters filled their tag in 2021.
Yeah. Is that rifle? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's a rifle bow combo. It just says tags purchased versus tags filled.
Right.
What did Destination Elk? We watched the last episode of Destination Elk, right?
Yeah.
What was their batting average?
I don't remember. They had 6 tags left.
Yeah. That was just over 50%.
Yeah. So
they're right in the ballpark there.
Yeah, that's probably within the margin of error for their group. So but that's bow hunting versus
that's professional bow hunters hunting for money.
Yeah.
I mean, really, bow hunting for TV.
When you can dedicate your life and time to doing that, your success rate's probably going to go up.
It should, yeah.
And
that's my goal.
Yeah. Speaking of good food, I have never eaten these, but I have seen them in the wild. Morel mushrooms.
Yeah?
Why are we not finding morel mushrooms? Why? So you
I just had an article about morel mushrooms because I know a lot of guys are out there looking for sheds right now.
Yeah.
And now is a great time to shed morel hunt. Right?
Yeah. I guess, yeah.
Why not?
I don't know how to find them, but I saw one time, and it was I didn't know what it was. In fact, the hunting area we go to more often than not these days, it was when I went out to scout it, I was with my kids.
I bet there's some. The trail road from the regular road up to the trailhead.
Yeah.
They in old burns where there's a lot of cottonwoods now. There's a good place.
Wow.
Good place to find them.
Oh.
This time of the year. So it needs to be spring.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So and I got into it. I sort of fixated on this one for. I don't know. When I was bored, I would just go to YouTube and I like it. Morel mushroom hunting. And you see them driving the roads and like, oh, look at this big thing of cottonwoods up here. And like a brush fire moved through, but the cottonwoods lived. And they go, oh, look at this treasure trove of morels. Now, you can't hunt them in Idaho and sell them.
Right.
Yeah.
And technically, you're supposed to get a permit to go find them.
Are you really?
Yes.
Interesting.
So, yeah,
I'll have to get a permit.
Idaho, I think, has this because it was a few years ago. It was just like many people don't know that they need to have a permit to go out and find foraged food items in national forest on BLM.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
So
okay,
as you still can't.
Even if, let's say, for instance, we brought home some pine nuts, would we need a permit for that?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I'm taking them back, actually.
Just in case I asked.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah.
So speaking of gear dumps, related here, the next story comes from Elk Season or
Destination
Elk.
Destination Elk.
So as you had observed, a couple of items that kind of like are these neat little what would we say? It's I had the word earlier and I lost it.
I don't know.
Little gear adjustments to try to help
Yeah.
make things become more efficient. I really like this first one for different elk reeds being on your collar. So
Just right on your backpack strap.
yeah,
It's like a Velcro. I don't know where to get them. I'm sure I'm going to find one.
Yeah.
Before elk season, but they fit right on your shoulder strap, and this can tie into another story because you need different reeds. You need different calls readily accessible.
yeah,
If a bull or if a group of elk are not responding the way you want to an elk call, you should change.
yeah.
And if you've worked that same group of elk with that elk call, you should change your elk call. They now recognize your voice. I feel like sometimes elk have recognized my calls from week to week,
Sure.
right? Like the first week they were more effective than the next week. And like,
Yeah.
I should be changing up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because they just, something sketchy about that voice.
And you've told me about how Corey Jacobson is an elk calling guru.
Yes.
So one thing that I noticed about his is in that final Destination
Yeah.
Elk video, his calling technique.
Yeah.
And the way that he can make it sound like a gravelly bugle.
Yeah.
And I noticed that when I make bugles, it's more of a smooth. But
Sure.
when you heard him battling it out with that elk, and it was clear. Well, I think what was really interesting. I don't mean to get to Destination Elk. Maybe I should.
No, that's
back
what we're
off.
talking about.
But he was in this shouting match or this screaming match
Yeah.
with this bull. But earlier in the episode, spoiler alert here, he pinpointed some elk calls and he's like, "That's got to be a hunter," and it made sense. The timing between when
Yeah.
we hear it and we've done it, So I'm like, yeah, he's so good. He can understand if it's an elk or a human. I would bet that he was probably not wrong. But when he got in with that bull, the difference is, and we've known this, you make a call and that bull is right there.
Yeah.
And the thing that was interesting about the bull that was speaking to him, it would call and chuckle together versus what he heard earlier was a call
Yeah.
and then chuckles.
Did you notice something interesting about that chuckle? It sounded like a flock of seagulls.
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like I've heard chuckles before, but that sounded like seagulls at a beach. That's what his chuckle sounded like.
Yeah.
It's okay to be different in your calling.
Yeah. But getting that gravelly sound,
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious to and I want to get one of the, speaking of gear, I want to get one of those bugle tubes they use. They're like $30-$40, but
Yeah.
they're like this big,
Yeah.
and it just, I don't know.
I think I have one.
Huh.
I have,
I think you did. Yeah.
I think I might have
all your
one.
props. Yeah. So
because I don't really bugle. It's just a prop. Don't out me like that on the podcast.
you outed your,
I will eventually bugle with it someday.
anyway. The next bit of gear though is something that I want the read thing.
Yeah.
But this, it's like, I don't know if it's an upgrade. It's definitely a different approach. And it's a bow hook off your
Yeah.
belt, or off the backpack belt, particularly.
Yeah.
And
It's just a hook, just like a J hook.
it just makes complete sense to me.
Yeah. Watching Destination Elk, you've seen some of those guys carry their bows in different ways.
Yes.
Flat on their back, above on the top of their pack, on the top of their lid.
Yeah.
Somehow it just fits up there, and it might just be comfortable right there. Or they might have a strap or something. And I thought, I've tried different methods of carrying my bow, but when I saw the little J hook, I'm like, I really want to try that. Doesn't look too expensive, and I could give a full report as compared to. And even the two of us wear our slings differently.
Yeah, we have bow slings, and I've absolutely loved mine since I've had it, because the idea is to take the weight off your arm. So here's another mechanism that does the same thing, but this to me has some advantages, at least on the surface, that you don't have to remove anything. You just have to pull it out of the hook to be ready for an animal. So I think the strategy is more informed with that, though I'm kind of impartial to my bow sling.
Yeah, well, I do like the bow sling.
So but it's time to try some new things.
But you're right. There comes a point where I'm not just hiking, I'm also hunting.
Yeah.
And I probably should be a little more ready. And so, those opportunities come along, and I sometimes just slip the bow out of the sling and carry it by hand.
I think it'll be, for me, a hybrid situation where I hike with the sling, and then when we get to a place where it's time to start being ready, I pull it out of the sling, put it in the hook.
Yeah.
So
that could be.
Because it's nice to have the bow sling because it doesn't flop around and you can really maneuver it. And if you have to pay too much attention with your hand while you're hiking up a hill, because I like to have my trekking poles.
Right.
So
sissy sticks.
Sure.
Or what they call them when
Who's
these guys.
they?
Actually, that's the actual name of them. A company makes them. They recognize big tough men need something to help them walk in the outdoors. We're going to go ahead and call them sissy sticks.
I'm trying to feel offended here. I could care less.
They're trying to. I think they call them that on purpose. So, but they fold up. They fold up to the size of a large water bottle.
Yeah.
Instead of the 2 foot long, almost an extra arrow or an extra quiver.
Yeah, yeah.
So I like I might have to get me some sissy sticks.
I bought some new, not sissy sticks, but a brand that goes smaller than the ones, because I've been using these black diamond ones that are nice, but they are really long even when they're completely compressed. So I bought some new ones.
When you're just packing
In
them,
fact,
they run into everything.
You're using an accessory from that to hold your phone, because that came with those sticks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So the tops of the poles unscrew, and you can use it for holding your phone.
Oh,
and
yeah.
there's also some other things too. There's
like a big selfie stick.
If I was
smart.
Because it has one of those V things for your bow when you're shooting, you can rest your bow in it. The arrow.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's for a rifle. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
LOL.
That was a horrible, dumb joke. But
I saved a video. I saved a video from my TikTok feed from Arrow Sniper, because he shoots a recurve, and he has markers. So he has a little pad that he pulls back the string with, and on that pad he has markers. Am I shooting 20, 30, 40? And I'm like, so that goes to a different mark on his bow, on his string, and where you pull the string from changes the trajectory of the bow. So everything else is always the same.
Wow.
The tip of the arrow goes right on the bullseye. The knock of the arrow is right there by your cheek, but where you place, I'll have to show you the video. It's really cool.
it's I'm digging that.
And then there's another sight. There's another sight that looks like a V, and you put that, if this finger is that animal's front leg, whatever animal.
Yeah.
Is that front leg, and you V that up, you put that in there. And if that animal is far away, then that V has to come up a little bit more. And so it's a sight that you don't need a rangefinder for.
Wow.
So it's always, you just make that fit into the animal, and that's where your arrow's going to go in that kill shot. So yeah, really interesting take on sights for shooting, and we probably should shoot our bows more. Not today though.
Don't
the wind
out
is
me.
Howling.
Don't. That's the time you got to practice, man. Practice in the wind, because you never know when there's going to be wind when you're hunting.
It's something sounds like something I'd say.
Hey, those guys.
I would say that to my brother. It's like the only day we have to shoot is today. I don't care if it winds 50 miles an hour. It might be 50 miles an hour when we're hunting. Get off your butt. Let's go.
Right.
It sounds like something I'd say.
No, but those one guys, they gave up on hunting elk because of the wind. Remember that?
Yeah.
The trees were falling over on them. And
Yeah.
Like,
and we've seen that.
Yeah.
Well, I almost got footage of that.
Yeah.
We, there was, dang it. Oh, I just lost a thought.
Welcome to the
Ting
club.
Angry Spike.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if they harvested. They didn't harvest on the show. They said goodbye. After they said, and I'm not condemning. I've been there. Okay. I'm not going to hunt a spike. I'm not going to carry a spike out. Spikes aren't for us. Okay. I'm going to go home hungry. So now I would kill a spike, but I've said that about some cows. I go, well, you know what? I'm waiting for a bull.
I was going to kill a cow one time. Oh, hello, Mike. I was going to kill a cow one time, and I had the bull show up. I told that story a few podcasts ago. I had her marked at 50 yards broadside. She was the biggest one of the three. And I had drawn. And then I heard the bugle. And I was like, oh. And then they scattered. The three of them took off because my wind caught. But I had it. I had it all pegged. I had it all. Everything was aligned. And I went home without food because I couldn't sit still about 30 minutes later when I got that bull to come in on me.
Son of a gun.
He was a gorgeous bull. Every time we walk through that area,
do you see Jacobson's bull that he got eventually? Did you watch the end of that show? You didn't watch it all the way through. He went back. He went back, not as a part of Destination Elk. He just went back on his own.
So after
he closed the show, but after all the filming was done. I think the second biggest bull he's ever killed. And it was one of that same one with that seagull.
Sorry, unintentional ad. I have to pull up this video because I watched it. I swear, but I wonder if because I got in here to prep today because I was late to the video. And
if they end and they go back to we're back here talking with Donnie and after that, he shows some picture. He tells Donnie the story of going back in after that bull.
Oh yeah,
and it's big. It's really nice.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
Yeah, I somehow didn't get to that. Yeah. I got only so far. So
yeah. Anyways,
my bad.
We were talking about food though, right?
Yeah.
Were we talking about food somewhere?
Possibly.
Probably.
We can segue to food.
So meat and potatoes.
Yes.
I've said it before. Meat and potatoes guy. I had a friend I've never had a meat and potatoes conversation with post a picture on St. Patrick's Day of bangers and mash. I just want to thank you for that. Also, this morning, a Sunday morning in my house, it's just a tradition. We just have a big breakfast. I cook a pound of bacon. I cook hash browns and eggs. And sometimes we'll make muffins and we'll do something. But breakfast on Sundays I love a good breakfast. But I'm sitting there and I'm drinking some coffee and I got some hash browns and eggs and there's bacon and grease in my beard. And I'm thinking I'm feeling nostalgic. Okay. I'm feeling nostalgic. And back home where I'm from in Helena, Montana, way down by the railroad tracks is this old bar called Haps.
Okay.
And when I was a kid, I delivered the newspaper to Haps.
Okay.
And next to Haps is the Next to Haps Cafe. It's just called the Next. It was.
That's funny.
Back in the 80s. The bar would close at 2 and the restaurant would open at 2.
That's funny.
Totally. And I remember going there some November, some cold morning in November. It's like 3:00 in the morning. And it is bumper to bumper flannel and orange. I mean, it was 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
It is packed. And the windows are steamed, and you can smell the hash browns and the coffee, and the ham, and
that's
the eggs. And so I just had this flashback moment of a restaurant. This is growing up in hunting country.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. 3:00 in the morning, and it is packed. I have never seen a restaurant so packed as Next to Haps Cafe at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah,
and they were everybody was hunters on their way out.
Yeah.
It was just a very, very fond memory, and love hash browns and eggs and ketchup and coffee all at the same time. Man, that's a good happy breakfast.
Yeah.
So that was kind of one of my stories from the trail. The other story that I wanted to talk about real quick, because we were talking about Jacobson's bugles.
Right.
And animal language has been a fascination of mine for a very long time. I've followed a biologist. I've shared some of his stuff with you.
Yep.
Chris Rowe Hunting Resources. He's a biologist who spent thousands of hours in intently studying elk in a biological context.
Right.
And I really, really like his take. I like I said, I haven't done the Elk 101 course. I probably will. I definitely will. But I took Chris's course like every year for 4 or 5 years because it was so great and so
and some of the tools we learned
very much
gave us some
real
rewarded
results.
Us. Yeah.
Real results. And part of that is what helps me understand what's a hunter and what's an elk.
Yeah.
Is understanding, well, that's totally out of context. The elk doesn't sound like what they're saying. But there was an incident before I ever hunted elk, and it happened in Montana. I know I've told you the story before, but it was the week after Mother's Day. It was the third Saturday in May. It's the first day of crick fishing season in Montana. And the third week of May in Montana may be beautiful where you're from, but in Montana, the sun has only just come out. And the creeks are full of meltwater.
Yeah,
and that meltwater is brown. And you can't really fish in muddy water. So we wanted to fish so bad. Cabin fever in Montana is something else. Winter has you extra shut in. It really is tough. Yeah. So when springtime comes around and you want to get out, and I was 18, 19 years old, something like that.
Sure.
I am dying to be out with a fishing rod in my hands. And so we have to go upstream and try to find some clean water. Because the further down you go, the muddier it gets.
Right.
So we start going upstream, and I'm with a couple of buddies. I don't think you were there.
No,
you're not.
This doesn't ring.
Do you remember this? You don't remember the story?
I don't know.
Okay, but we started going up. I think it was Clancy Creek, north of Helena, and we started driving up this dirt road, trying to find some place to fish. And there we come into a cattle drive, and basically they're just moving their cows from where they feed in the wintertime. They're moving them up to the high country for the summertime because it's the third week of May. So we get caught up in this little cattle drive, and I don't know, there's 50 to 100, and they're scattered, but we get to them right at a choking point in the canyon. The road is narrow, the creek is close. There's a the fences are narrow, and there's a cowboy there's cowboys, there's dogs. There's trucks in the lead. There's trucks behind us, and they're like, okay, yeah, go ahead, just weave through the cattle drive, just work your way up there. The cattle drive doesn't move that fast, and as we work into the rear end of this cattle drive, and off behind me to the left, a calf gets stuck in the barbed wire fence and starts hollering, and one cow in that herd turned around. One.
Okay.
That has always blown my mind. And there was never any question whose mama that calf was.
Right.
Never. And ever since then, I've thought about why it's important to have a bunch of cow calls. Right? If I sound like your mom, if I sound like your sister, if I sound like somebody you've known before.
Right.
And there's something off with that. Or if I sound like a bull that you recognize. Listen, man, when elk give birth, they go off and they do it alone. They bond with scent and with sound with that calf. They do not come back. They do not join back up. Right? They go off for 4 or 5 days. They give birth, and that's a really, really important bonding time. And I think that when they do that, one of the most important things in voice recognition, in bonding that voice, the most important thing, because when your mom says, hey, get over here, right? Your mom says, come here. I know that's my mom saying it, and I have to go. That's not your mom saying it, and you have to go, right? Mm-hmm. If you're out there playing soccer, if you're out there playing on the playground, you hear your mom's voice, and she says, come here.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. You're gonna go, and your friends aren't.
Right.
But if there was a universal, that's got to be a universal, is saying to an elk, "Come here." That is the first word, I believe, the first phrase, the first meaning every elk comes to understand.
Okay.
Is mom is safety. Come here.
Sure.
Come and find me.
Yeah.
So I believe that's roughly what I believe, but part of that comes from this experience in this cattle drive. Now, this cow turned around. There's not room in this herd for a cow to turn around. It's packed, right?
Yeah.
But nobody's stopping her. And I saw that, and she turns around. She's facing my car.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she's coming over the top of me. And you saw the look in her face, you would know. By that time, the calf had got unstuck from the fence. It stopped hollering and ran up and joined its mom. And she didn't run over my car. She went off to the side. She met up with her calf, and they got back in line for the cattle drive.
Interesting.
But that has had a huge, huge impact on me because I've never understood animal language so deeply like that.
So what's the Khmer elk noise?
That's proprietary. I learned it from Chris Rowe.
Yeah.
If you want to know what it is, go watch his stuff. I'm not going to give it away.
No.
I'm not going to tell you.
Well, yeah.
Right? I mean, there's a specific call that Chris Rowe says, this means Khmer. Yeah. That's what this means in elk language. It means Khmer. I've seen it work.
Yeah, we've used it.
I believe it. I'm not. If you want to learn it, you should. You should go check out his stuff. It's fascinating biology. But when I think about Corey Jacobson, when there's a bugling sequence going on, when you're having a yelling match, it's really important. I think it's really important to. You're familiar with mirror neurons. You're a brain guy.
Absolutely.
Really important for communal animals to reflect emotion. So elk are communal, right? They have to reflect that emotion. So you don't want to say you want to be speaking on the same level with the elk,
right? So
and it's only a matter of time. Either you're talking a little bit above that elk or a little bit below that elk. But if you're so off, I'm just making elk noises. Yeah, this elk is not going to be. It's not going to be in tune to what you're saying. And I think that's one of the things that Corey Jacobson has is when you hear that elk, you try to make almost the exact same sound. The same rise, the same number of chuckles. Try to mimic that really strongly.
That's a strategy I tried to follow early on in 2013-14. I came across that in a book called Elk Tactics. I haven't found my copy yet. When I find my copy, I'll bring it in. Okay. We'll talk about it. But still unpacking stuff from 10 months later after moving in. Who knew that we gather all this crap and we have to dig through it? Yeah. Anyway, but no, that's a tactic that he promoted in that book.
And the same thing with Chris Rowe.
Yeah, and I mimic what you hear.
Yeah,
and so it's always been a bit hard for me to just. Cold calls are promoted in that book too because you want to see if anybody's there, but you have to kind of be intentional and be careful not to overdo it, but not to underdo it. So it's really a balancing act game.
Yeah,
but first and foremost, if there's going to be noise, I'm going to try to mimic the noise. And I've told other hunters one time. I've told you about this. I had gotten up to the area. Some guys had been in this area. They got tags in our area because the tags where they wanted to go had sold out. And so they were in our area for the first time. And they're trying to figure things out. And I'm like, well, just so you know, I've been up here the last few days. Haven't heard much talking. So just be mindful of that. So I had kind of told them what's going on. I said, try not to make too much noise because the elk just aren't responding. So we parted ways, and I think they were a little disenchanted because I'm like, I had this plan, and they're like, well, we were going to go up that way, and I'm like, okay, well, we all have to hunt, so respectfully, I'm going up this ridge, and I'll go to where I want. But they were making a whole bunch of noise, and it actually pushed a bull. I learned that day that the elk weren't making noise. They got up and got all hot and bothered with their bugling and they were just completely exposed. And I kind of encouraged them to reconsider doing that. And I'm sitting here on the back side of where they were at, and I keep hearing what I thought were these growls. And I was like, well, that's weird. And I had heard these before, was very, I was like, I don't know what that is. I didn't know if it was an elk. I didn't know if it was a bear because it was these growls. And then one moment it was a bull just kind of groaning, and eventually he made a half bugle, and it finally clicked. Oh, that noise is a bull.
Yeah.
And it just sounded like some beast of magnitude in the stand that I was staring at.
And this monster bull that Corey Jacobson shot.
Yeah.
From the day before, from the video that they did have, it sounded like seagulls.
Yeah.
It was such a different sounding chuckle.
But to this bull, because of the way that they were bugling, he was just moving away, but he was moaning and groaning as he's leaving because whatever that is, he didn't want anything to do with it. And I don't mean to anthropomorphize his behavior.
We're all about anthropomorphization.
But it just seemed like he was moaning and groaning, and he's like, I'm just not up for it today. And he's just leaving the area. And had I realized...
It sounds like a fair interpretation.
Well, yeah.
To me.
That's ultimately what...
If it's afternoon, it's hot out.
It was morning. It was in the morning. Okay. But anyway, long story longer, knowing now when I can come up, if I come across that kind of scenario where I hear the grunts, whether there's other hunters or not, I'll be more informed. Like I'll try to get closer before I try to make any noise, because I was sitting across, looking at the kitchen. I was looking across to the kitchen in our area. And
I have a real understanding from the Temple Grandin book about flight zones, and I know I've talked to you about flight zones, or pressure zones. So yeah, if you bugle too close to an elk, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, I'm not looking for a fight.
Right.
I'm not rutting hard right now. I just like talking." So I'm surprised to see how often the bugler or the caller is so close in proximity to the shooter.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to be, because you want to see the action.
Right. They got to get those, particularly the camera guys.
The camera guy's with the shooter.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. But guys go out there by themselves and call.
Yeah.
And still get in close and still get a shot. I mean, as far as I know, Jacobson got that bull by himself.
Yeah.
So what do I know?
just keep getting the data and keep trying. That's all I know.
I keep studying. Yeah, I keep studying, try to understand.
Success ultimately comes to those individuals who continue to adapt, evolve, and make effort. Yeah. And so I'm very close to success in terms of a harvest. I've come ridiculously close, laughably close, and failed it. But you have to keep pursuing that outcome. Otherwise,
embarrassingly close.
Oh yeah,
so close. I don't even want to tell that story yet. We're not close enough, you and me.
What, when I fell asleep?
No, me.
I fell asleep at 20 yards.
Some stories I don't even think I've told you.
Probably.
Too embarrassed. Because you make mistakes.
Yeah.
That's how you learn. Get out there and make some mistakes. And mistakes are costly after you've spent, I don't know, how many hours, how many miles, how many dollars to get where you are to make that mistake and learn.
How many trucks could I have purchased if I'd saved my money from hunting?
How many Costco steaks could I have bought? More than enough.
Yeah.
So at any given point, archery elk is the greatest outdoor sport in North America. It has less than a 90% fail rate.
Supposedly. I'm a little concerned by those numbers based on that report out of North Dakota.
That included rifle season.
Right.
And
need more data there.
Yeah, I just need a little more data. But still,
it's tough.
At any given hunt is 99% doomed.
Yeah.
It's not going to be successful, and you have to get out there with 100% confidence.
Yes.
Every time. That's what elk season is here for.
Yes.
Get out there with 100% confidence every time, even though any given hunt is 99% guaranteed to fail.
In terms of harvest.
Not counting grouse, of course.
Yeah. And
grouse.
And there's one surefire way to increase your harvest of grouse. Go hunting with Randy Newberg.
I'm telling you, that was slim. Boy, he could spot a grouse. He had a good eye for grouse, man. That was fun.
All right.
So I love Randy Newberg's Destination Grouse.
Yeah. That's what he needs.
So, all right. What did we have anything else? I watched a documentary too this week. Onyx produced a documentary called On Broken Country.
Well, that might be a good topic for. We're already just past the hour mark. So.
I know. We'll talk about it later. Next week, stay tuned for
Onyx
On Broken Country. If you want to watch it, it's only 15 minutes.
Yeah, and
it's pretty important. I think it's pretty.
And give me a chance to watch it
for outdoor. Okay, that's true. All right. All right. Thanks everybody for coming to the Elk Season Podcast. If you made it this far,
thanks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Be well. Stay awesome.